Hello and welcome back to What Steven Reads. My name is Steven. It is Sunday or maybe Saturday when you'll be watching this. It's the I went to Montreal video. So you saw last week, I was getting ready for Montreal and now we're back. And it was a wonderful trip. We love going there. I've probably been there 5 or 6 times. Peter's been there maybe a couple more times than I have. And we just fell in love with Old Montreal. And normally we stay at the Nelligan Hotel, and I believe actually she was an author. I'm gonna have to check that. I should have done that before. And it's a beautiful hotel. It's along a cobblestone street they've actually been redoing. They keep moving down each block every time we go back. It's taking a long time, but it looks fantastic. It's just gorgeous down there. This time, because we booked so late, the Nelligan was all booked, and I actually not even realized that it was Columbus Day weekend and it's Canadian Thanksgiving. So we wound up staying in their sister hotel called Place des Armes, which I thought was Palace des Armes, and the cab driver did not know what I was saying. And then he said, "Oh, Place des Armes." So Place des Armes is the name of the hotel. Not as great as the Nelligan. When you walk in, no matter how many times you walk in and out of that hotel, the Nelligan, they're just so smiley. The doorman, the valet, the concierge people are just super nice and say hello every time with a smile. That wasn't part of this experience at Place des Armes. But all that said, it was a beautiful hotel. One morning we did have breakfast in the hotel. It was gorgeous architecture and lighting and, you know, $22 egg dishes. But that's just how it is in some hotels, you know. We did go to a museum, the Arsenal Contemporary Art Museum, and we saw this wonderful exhibit, VR, and you go into a room with a headset on, and you're interacting with artists from the 19th, 18th century. I always get my details wrong. For someone who went to art school, this should be right off the top of my head, but of course not. It was really cool. Graphics-wise, fidelity, it's like playing a video game from like the 2010-ishes, maybe a little bit before that. I don't know if you ever played Sherlock Holmes Adventure video game. That's what it looked like, but it was still cool. When I first got into that VR world, I felt like I was going to fall, which you're not because you're just walking on a floor inside of a gallery, but my head was in the trees, so I had to raise my hand, and they readjusted it, and I came back down onto the floor. And then Peter and I were just staying close to each other because you don't want to bump into anybody else that's doing the VR tour. And they appear as a mesh wireframe in the game. So if you see them, you don't want to walk right into them. So you kind of got to be careful a little bit. But just a really cool experience. And I think I was more amazed at the whole experience than actually learning anything. It'd be fun to actually go through it twice. One, to experience the whole VR aspect, and then the second time to actually listen to what the artists are saying. But it was just really it was nice. And then the food is absolutely fantastic. We have one restaurant that we go to every time, that is Garde Manger, and there's no logo outside. You can barely even see it. Someone had told us about this maybe 5 years ago. And every time we go, we eat there. The food is just fantastic. I had an appetizer of a cold seafood platter. I ate whelks, which are sea snails, and those clams that are like skinny and long. They're like a long fingernail, it looks like. And some clams and some shrimp. And then my favorite dish there is a salmon dish they do with a caviar sauce, which they did not have this time. So I was disappointed. I did wind up getting a gnocchi, homemade gnocchi, with lamb. And it was delicious, but yeah, I was disappointed that the salmon dish was not there. And Peter had caviar. He loves caviar. And he got the sea urchin or something pate. That's always delicious. And honestly, I don't remember what he ate for his main course, but he enjoyed it. He loves that place. Great wine. The atmosphere is so cozy. It's like brick walls, and then in the center they have this chandelier structure that I had asked years ago where they got that from, and it was some sort of salvaged piece from a hotel or something. I don't know, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And we sit at the bar. The bartender is just fantastic and very cool at giving wine recommendations, because I didn't like the white wine that Peter had picked, and she recommended a nice blend, red wine, which I'll show you in a picture, and it was great. And then another night we went to a restaurant called Barocco, which was also just absolutely fantastic, and they actually did have the salmon dish with caviar, but I didn't get it because we saw beef Wellington, and we've never had that. I believe it's just basically filet mignon wrapped in a puff pastry, and then the server pours the au jus on top of it. Just absolutely incredible. We had a salad with pickled beets, which just, I have to find pickled beets now. Just unbelievable. Wait, not pickled beets, pickled radishes. Just absolutely delicious. And some kind of smoked salmon dish, but not overly salty the way smoked salmon usually is. Just absolutely fantastic. And of course, one of my goals this time, which I have been to a bookstore down in Old Montreal, but it's very tiny. They don't have a large selection. So this time, we took a trip to a neighborhood that has lots of coffee shops and bookstores, and it's called Staid. Beautiful bookstore. All the shelves and tables are white. It's just, you walk in, it's just beautifully gorgeous. White walls, white everything. Very bright in there, and it really showcases all the books. She had them all laid out on tables and then shelves in the background. And I had asked her, do you have a section with authors from Montreal or Quebec or Canada in general? And sure enough, she did. Just a note, a lot of the bookstores, the novels are written in French, and that's, obvious. So it's nice that this bookstore had a mix of both English and then translated into English and then French books. So she did recommend one book on the table, which was called All Kidding Aside, and the author is Jean-Christophe Réhel, translated by Neil Smith. And I'll just give you a quick read from the back. Let me just put my glasses on. Louis, a young queer man, lives in Pointe-aux-Trembles, a neighborhood in the east end of Montreal, with his rap-obsessed schizophrenic brother and their terminally ill father. While working at a Tim Hortons, Louis dreams of becoming a stand-up comedian. Delivered in short, addictive chapters, All Kidding Aside deftly juggles themes of love, class, and grief with poetic mockery and spare, electric banter. So not something I would normally go for, because it sounds like it might be a little bit depressing, with the brother having schizophrenia and their father's dying, but I'm trying to get into more literary fiction that really just goes for your heart and just touches you in a way. So that, I bought that upon her recommendation. And then a collection of essays called The Traces. Mairead Small Staid. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's called The Traces. It says an essay, but it's a collection of essays. And let me just read the insert. The Traces is a work of memoir and criticism that explores the nature of happiness in art, literature, and philosophy, structured around a season spent in Italy and a reading of Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. And I have a book by Italo Calvino I bought last year. I haven't read it yet, and I'm kind of now dying to get to that book as well. Maybe I'll put this next to that, or have like a little translated section of books. And someone made a comment saying, why are you organizing your books online, finding what genres they're from? Just put them in alphabetical order, all your books. And he also made a comment that he was, I think, 80 or something like that, which, thank you for the comment. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. I do feel like I have an older soul. Maybe I get along better with older people. I have no idea. So I replied to his comment, and I said, well, it's nice to be able to go to your library, your personal library, your collection of books, and have them organized by genre. Because if you are looking for something, say postmodernist or a classic or a horror, you're not looking through all of them, because you might forget what book you actually own, which I certainly forget some books, or I forget what genre it is. So that's what I've been doing lately, as you've seen, pulling out some postmodernist books, pulling out the classics. Romance did wind up staying with general contemporary fiction along with the literary, because some of them are borderline this, borderline that. And I just find it easier to say, oh, I'm in the mood for a dystopian book. I go to my dystopian section and it's right there, because I might forget a book that I bought that's classified as dystopian, and I wouldn't be able to find it as fast or just, get to it at all. So that, and I said it's also fun to do because, he also made a comment about people relying on technology for stuff. And the technology was just being used to look up genres, because books don't always have on the inside where they are. Sometimes they do. I mean, you can look inside of a book and it may actually tell a store where to classify it. That doesn't mean that there aren't other genres involved. And I'm just taking a look at The Haunting of Hill House to see if it says where this book belongs. And I'm not seeing anything that says what genre it has to go into. So I think it's nice to have that technology today to help you know where to put your books if you're into book collecting. And so that's that. The third book I got is by Mordecai Richler, and it's called Cocksure. And it sounds right up my alley. If you remember the book about the hotel in Germany with all the different characters coming in. So, London, 1960s. Canadian Mortimer Griffin is a beleaguered editor adrift in a sea of hypocrisy and deceit. Alone in a swinging culture where nobody shares his values but everyone wants the same things, Mortimer must navigate the currents of these changing times. He encounters an eccentric cast of characters that include Polly, who conducts her life as though it were a movie, Rachel Coleman, slinky Black Panther of the boudoir, Starmaker, a narcissistic Hollywood tycoon, and a precocious group of schoolchildren with a taste for the teachings of the Marquis de Sade. A savagely funny satire on society, Cocksure is Mordecai Richler at his most caustic and wicked best. This book just sounds awesome to me. Again, cast of characters, and they're interacting, and I just think that that's fun. Like, to me, that's like a whole subgenre that I would put all together with these kinds of books. Gentleman in Moscow, I think it was called the Grand Hotel. I can't remember right now, but I talked about it last week. I did bring 3 books with me to read. One being The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, The Fuck Up, which I think I put all these books back into my bookcase. That's from like a 2000s book. And there's one more, The Grand Hotel. And I wound up reading and finishing Shirley Jackson, The Haunting of Hill House, which I thought this was an older book. It was published in 1959. Here's my ghost bookmark, which I thought I left in the copy of Cat's Cradle at Barnes & Noble, but I found it. This was written in 1959, so it's not as old as I thought, because Rebecca was older. And I really enjoyed this. It's obviously not I don't know. You could look up the history of haunted house books, but I enjoyed it. Once again, we have a woman that is unhinged, as she is written. By the way, by a female, Shirley Jackson, and New Mrs. De Winter was also written by a female, Rebecca de Maurier. But yeah, she's kind of treated like a child once again, another character. And I get it, that's how she's written, because she had a life of taking care of her mother who was very ill. She passes away, and she wants something new. And this doctor, who does research on hauntings and the like, invites her to come stay at Hill House. And she's like, yeah, I'm in. She takes the car that she shared with her sister and heads off to this house, all on her own. Excuse me. So there's the doctor. There is Eleanor, the character I just told you about. Another woman comes along, and another gentleman who is the heir of Hill House. And his aunt wanted someone who has to do with the house, the ownership, to be at its mansion while the doctor conducts his experiments. It's part of the deal. And it is creepy at times. I wouldn't say it's, fantastically horror-filled, but it's definitely eerie. I'm curious to know what the state of horror books were back in the 50s. I'm thinking of Psycho, or other things that Alfred Hitchcock has adapted. The Birds, which I believe is older, late 1940s, 1950s, I think. But yeah, I definitely liked it. Check it out if you're into, what goes bump in the night and banging on doors in the middle of the night. And then, you open up a door and nothing's there. Like that whole kind of theme going on. So I really enjoyed that. And then, so that's it for reading. Next week, I keep talking about priority reads, and I think that's going to be coming up next week because I was thinking today, I went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought a couple of new books. And one thing, do you want to see book hauls, or are you tired of book hauls? I love watching book hauls on YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. But if that's not something you're interested in, let me know. I'll just show books that I'm currently reading and then slipping in here and there a book I might be interested in reading. But if you want to see a book haul, let me know, because I have a stack since the last book haul. It's Uncontrollable Urge to Buy Books. But yeah, so it made me think today that it would be good to read a more current book that I picked up. Not a guilty pleasure book like a thriller or a mystery or something like that, but something that is more common, that people are talking about or may not know about. I have a lot of new books that I bought in the past year, hardcovers, and I never see anyone talk about them. So it might be a good idea to read those and share them with you. Today there was a book I picked up that another YouTuber mentioned, and I bought it because he mentioned it, and I'll show it next week. But I had seen that book since it came out, and I never bought it. And so I'm thinking maybe I, should have bought it, read it, and talked about it, but I wasn't on BookTube at that point anyway. So I did pick it up, but I think it might be a good idea to throw into the mix of books that I'm currently reading to be something that is new that maybe you've never heard of, or, And, yeah, I want this priority reads list to have some guilty pleasures in there too, because some of those are new, some of those are old that I've been dying to get through. Hey, puppy. I'm almost done. And then I want to put some classics in there, and then I love dystopian books. Not all dystopian books, but I want to put some of those in there. So I've come up with a way to make myself read these books, not forcibly, but just a way of picking them out. And there is a hint in this video shot right now, because it's showing. So I'll be working on that next week, and maybe the vlog before that video will be me writing the titles of the books on a piece of paper, and then the next video will be the presentation of what that's going to be. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about that. It's going to be new literary novels. It's going to be classics that I really want to get to. There could be another big book in there. Some guilty pleasures, something more along the lines of a quick thriller like First Lie Wins, something like that. I don't know, just some stuff in there too. I don't want them to all be serious books, just books that I bought and I want to get to read. So if that sounds interesting to you, tune in next week and you'll see that video. And again, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. I do notice that most of my viewers are not subscribed. If I can convince you to subscribe, that would be awesome. And Teddy's ready to go outside again, I think. So that's it for today, and I will catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.